Hi, everyone. Katie Anderson here, and I'm thrilled to welcome today to our discussion my good friend Karyn Ross to talk about her book, The Kind Leader. So we're here today to dive into what kindness means, how you can get more kind this year, and some opportunities for how you can increase your learning as well. So welcome, Karyn. I'm really excited to talk about your new book.
Katie, thank you so much. I can't think of a better way to start 2022 than talking with you about kind leadership.
Yes, wonderful. Well, I have a few questions here for you, and we can dive right into them and have a little discussion. And at the end, we'll share a special opportunity with listeners at the end. So question number one is, what are the three biggest myths about kind leadership?
Well, the three biggest myths about kind leadership, and as I've been, talking to different people and they've been reading the book, are these. And the first one is, isn't kindness really a sign of weakness? And when you're a leader, you have to be strong. So how can kindness and leadership go together? And really, honestly, that's just totally incorrect, because when you think about it, it takes a lot of strength to be a leader. And sometimes you have to have a difficult discussion with someone. Sometimes you have to be, tell them something that they might not want to hear. And to do that in a kind way takes a lot of strength. So it actually takes more strength to be kind than it does to not be kind. That actually is weakness. So that's myth number one. Myth number two is that kind and nice are the same thing. But actually, there's a huge difference between being kind and being nice, and it has to do with that idea of weakness as well. Lots of times, we think, oh, let's do the nice thing. We don't want to make somebody feel uncomfortable. We don't want them to be upset about something. So we may not tell them the truth about something. We say, okay, let's just be nice. But actually, oftentimes that's unkind. If we have an employee or a team member who's struggling and we don't have the strength to actually tell them what's going on, then and we just gloss over it and we're nice, then actually that's really unkind to the person, because they don't have the opportunity to improve. They don't have the opportunity to learn. So kind and nice aren't the same thing. And we really need, especially as leaders, to think about, am I being nice to someone because I don't actually have the courage to be kind, or I don't know how to talk to them or do this in a kind way? The third myth is that all of this is a waste of time, because the people who are unkind leaders are never going to read the book and are never going to care. So the first part of that myth is that, first of all, nobody actually thinks they're unkind. Everybody thinks that they're kind. And the second thing is, it really doesn't matter, because when you think about systems, that when we want to change a system, we change the inputs, and then it goes through the process and different outputs come out. So by us leading with kindness, by thinking kindly, speaking kindly, and acting kindly, by putting those different inputs in, we change the system. And then the system is going to change, and that system is going to actually change other people. So please, please, please don't think this is all a waste of time. I'm just one person. What am I going to do to, what's my effort going to be worth to be kind? It changes the system. Every single act of kindness you do, every single word you speak kindly, every kind thought that you have changes the system.
It amplifies beyond yourself.
Exactly.
Yes. Well, that was actually going to be tied into my second question here, which is about how can we start shifting from an unkind to a kind culture? And it sounds like you started to answer that here, which is starting with yourself, right?
Yes, that is absolutely so. Start with yourself. And it actually goes with sort of another myth that people say, well, I'm not a leader. I don't have a formal leadership title. I don't have a formal leadership role. But let me assure you, you are a leader, whether at work, whether informally, at home, when you're a parent, if you're a coach, if you're teaching a community class, if you're involved in a community organization, you are influencing people by your actions, reactions, your words, and people are following you. So the best place to start with any change is to practice yourself. And the best thing about that practice is it's not like when you have some kind of organizational transformation or a lean transformation or agile transformation, and you think, oh my goodness, we're not going to see the result of this transformation for years. You're going to see the result of this immediately. You're going to see people's shoulders drop, people's sigh of relief, when instead of shouting at them, you speak to them kindly.
Yes. And at the essence, really, any culture change starts with the individual, right? So something I learned from my mom, who is a therapist, is that, human relationships, the dynamics exist, about people, but if you change how you're showing up, you shift the dynamic already. So if we show up with more respect, with more kindness, with more caring, with more curiosity, it shifts the dynamic, and therefore that amplifies it and creates then that culture.
Absolutely. And I always explain it to people this way. If the queen puts on a hat with a big pink feather, sales of hats with big pink feathers are going to go up. So leaders create culture, your actions, your words, the way you react and interact with people, whether you enter the room first and sit at the front, or whether you hold the door for other people and let them go in first. People are going to see how you act, and that's how they're going to act. They're going to take their cue from you. So everything that you do, especially when you're a leader in a formal role, that is amplified even further, So start with you, start with one thing.
So Karyn, my third question is about starting with yourself too. Are you kind all the time?
I am absolutely not kind all the time. I always say to people, kindness is a practice that takes practice, and kind leadership is a practice that takes practice. And the more we practice, the more comfortable we get, the more confident we get, the better we get, the more it becomes a habit. I am not kind all the time, just as everybody else. When something untoward happens, my first thought, because we have negativity bias built into us, might be, why did that coffee cup get left on the counter overnight, right? I hate when things get left on the counter. What could my husband have possibly doing? And then he didn't put it away. And then I need to step back, take a time out, remind myself of the first think kindly behavior, which is assume positive intent, and think about all the different possible reasons. I practice just as much as everybody. And the more I practice, the more I learn about how to practice.
Yes, for sure. And I think it's really helpful to remember that our habits and our instincts run so strong, but what we can do is start to get better at recognizing it more quickly, so that either we don't act on that instinct, or if we act, we adjust much more quickly. Or as you and I've talked about, even if we take the action, we then apologize and come back and learn. So it's just getting better at doing it faster and recognizing we're having that experience, but not reacting, but acting.
Right. And I think it's super important that we acknowledge that we are not kind 100% of the time, and that we're all practicing, especially when we are in a formal leadership role. When we say to people, hey, I am practicing kindness and I did not live up to the standard that I want to practice, and here's what I'm going to do. You now give them a model.
Yes.
To give themselves permission to practice, and know when you don't live up to your own standard, you don't have to give up. It's not a failure. Just start again. The wonderful thing about practicing kindness is you have another opportunity coming along in the next 2 minutes, I can guarantee you.
Absolutely. It's a nice segue to question number 4, which is about how you see the difference between introspection and reflection.
That is a super, super fabulous question. And I've been thinking about this over the last little while, especially because we're at year end, which we traditionally think of as a time for reflection. And I'm sure that a lot of you out there participate in after action review or formal reflection or, plus delta, those kind of things. And when you think about it, oftentimes what we're reflecting on is the ends. Did we hit our target? Did we reach our goal? It's a thing. Did we accomplish the thing we set out to do? Introspection means really looking in at ourselves and saying, did I accomplish or not accomplish, or did I act in the way that I wanted to? Did I act with kindness, whether or not we reached the target or not? Did I treat others with kindness? Was I kind to myself? It's the how and the actually taking personal responsibility in a way that doesn't beat ourselves up, but in a way that allows us to say, again, I'm not kind 100% of the time. Let me acknowledge that and let me make a plan for, oh, here's a situation that I know triggers me to be unkind. What am I going to do when I get in that situation again? And let me try again.
Yes. I think it's so important for us to go, not just look at that outcome, but really also what's the process and what was our role in the process, and going back into some of the things that were, how did we shape that outcome? And what are some of the assumptions we had too about what was going on that might have influenced how we were reacting or acting? So when we can start sort of making those invisible things more visible, we're then able to make the changes on it and to be kind to ourselves, as you said too.
Absolutely. And the thing is, with rights come responsibilities. And as leaders, oftentimes we're focused on like what those rights are. But we have to remember they come with responsibilities, and we're responsible for our actions. We're responsible for our inaction. Nobody is perfect. Nobody is perfectly kind all the time. But if we don't have that introspection and listen to that little voice of our conscience, right? Yes. That we don't have the opportunity to do better for others and for ourselves next time.
So as we're looking at this new year of 2022, when we're having this conversation, I'm curious to know, what is your goal for how to increase kindness in the world this year?
Okay, I love it that you asked me this question, because out of my reflection and introspection time, and every year I sort of create a theme to think around, and this year's theme is think small. And oftentimes, and especially if we're in a leadership role, we think we need to think big. We see the big picture, we're the visionary, we're going to delegate things over there for people to help us reach that goal. But really, kindness, when you think about it, is in the details, right? And it happens moment by moment, thought by thought, word by word, action by action, reaction by reaction. It's those little details. How did I look at each person as we went down the hall? Did I say hello? Did I make eye contact? How did I react? Am I ordering products from vendors that have the same values and that are, treating the environment kindly? Think small. I'm going to be thinking about every detail and its effect on kindness and its effect on people and its effect on the world. So that's it. Think small.
Think small, act small, and often.
Exactly.
So transitioning to the process of writing a book, you've written many books now. You even helped me write my book, which is great, as one of my developmental editors. I'm curious what you learned through the process of writing The Kind Leader.
Well, it's so interesting because The Kind Leader is actually my 6th book. And well, you think, well, after 6 books, Karyn has the process writing a book down. That's it. But again, think small. So one of the things that I found when I've written my other books is that the actual process of writing the words and then the process of doing the drawings, because actually I did all the drawings and graphics in the Kind Leader as well, that I found that those are very different creative processes for me. And so in past, what I found is that if I do all the writing first, then it's easier to do all the drawing second, even though I know from our lean world seems like batching, but I found it was much easier to stay in one creative process flow and then switch to the other one afterwards instead of going back and forth. However, I did not, I started off thinking that's how I'm going to write the Kind Leader, but it didn't work that way. And what I found was that creating the visual language of, and I call these the helping hands on the front and the different leaders that you're going to see and the icons. Yeah, the icons that you'll see throughout the book and that go with the Kind KLC think points, that they really went together. So I actually sometimes did the drawing first, then writing, and then back to some drawing. So I learned, you know what? Each book is going to have its own process.
And the creative flow changes based on the situation. So
absolutely,
we have to be flexible to let the book emerge.
Exactly.
Yes. Wonderful. And then my last and seventh question for you is, what is a question you aren't usually asked about, either about the book or Kind leadership, and that you'd like to answer? And what is that question and what is your answer?
Okay, I am usually not asked the question of why did you write this book now? Right? People are used to Karyn writing books. They're really just used to, okay, Karyn is going to write all of these things. I write about lean. Why am I going to write about Kind leadership? Why am I going to, write about something I haven't written about before? And the truth is because it's needed. And as I was here during the pandemic, I really thought, I'm seeing an awful lot of unkindness. And Katie, you and I work together all the time, and you're so focused on leadership. And I had a fabulous time being the developmental editor for your book. And I really, as I just listened to the amplified words of leaders, as I saw people shout at each other in grocery stores for doing things or not doing things, I thought something's got to change. And when there's a problem, I always think someone should do something about the problem, and the problem is me. So that's why I decided to write a book about Kind leadership at this time. And I don't think that it's actually such when you think about all the lean work, I don't think it's really a departure. I just think it's a continuation.
Yep. Absolutely. I want to echo that too. Kindness is built into the leadership model of the Toyota way, of the real principles of lean. It's all about respect for people. That pillar, respect, comes from kindness. It's a different, Mr. Yoshino and I always talk about the difference between respecting someone because of a title versus respecting their humanity. And that's where we can be kind and not necessarily just nice, like going to Gumba and just saying hi when things are problematic or things aren't, you're seeing opportunities to help someone is not kind. And so how do we show up more authentically with kindness, with caring, with curiosity, and with the courage to look at ourselves too?
Yes. And what I really want to say is, a lot of times people feel like, okay, I have this niche, or I think as our friend Mark Graben says, once wrote something about like people saying to him, you should stay in your lane, right? The thing is that really, as when you think about, we always say lean is a journey, but when we think about all of those things as a journey, you're going to see things and you're going to understand things and you're going to learn things along the way, and all of that you're taking in, that becomes part of what you have to share. We all learn and grow and develop. So I just think of this as a continuation.
Yes. Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining me here to talk about the kind leader and kind leadership and how we all can work at getting a little bit better, the small things each every day to be a little more kind to ourselves, to others, and to the world. So thank you so much. Again, Karyn's book is available now to order on Amazon and other places. And special deal, in the spirit of the new year and Karyn's and my friendship, I am giving away a copy of each of our books to one lucky reader. More details in the information on the interview site, which the link will be provided in the notes below. So register to get the books. And if you're not a winner, go out and buy the books because they're your investment in kindness and curiosity, caring, and so much more for 2022 and beyond.
Yes, and I'd also like to say every time you purchase The Kind Leader or any of the other books that I've authored, the royalties that I earn go directly to fund the Love and Kindness Project Foundation, my 501c3 nonprofit. So it's making a donation to a good cause as well. And I really want people to remember that every time you act kindly, no matter you speak kindly, no matter how small that act might seem to you, it actually makes a huge positive difference. And you never know what kind of positive difference it makes for the life of the person that you've done it for.
Thank you, Karyn. And thank you everyone for listening. Please share any comments or questions you have below too, and enjoy your journey of kindness this year. So thanks, Karyn. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, Katie.